Uh, Hello, everybody. Hi. Just welcome to the lesson. I have to wait for a few more people to sign in, but uh, yeah, there we are. Hello. Whoever's just joined us, like I said in the chat, I'm Tom, and today we're going to be describing things, particularly feelings, emotions. Just wait for a couple more people to come join us, and then we can get cracked on with the little exercise I've got to start us off. So if you'd like to say hello in the chat, then it'd be good to. Oh, and hello as well to whoever's just joined again. If you want to contribute to the lesson, that'd be really great. Try to make it a bit interactive today. I've not got a presentation because it didn't work last week, so I'm going to try and do it naturally. And it'd be great if I could have a bit of a chat with you guys in the chat. Since it's live, we may as well. But yeah, so if you want to say hello, just stick it down in the chat, and I'll try and keep on top of replying. I think there's a slight gap with when the comments come through, but it'd be great. So I'll just put in the chat. I think what we're going to start off with today is just a bit of talking about favourite songs, different types of music, and then why we like different types of music. Because the starting topic for today, we're going to be talking about feelings and emotions, and I think music's a really great way to think about feelings and emotions and what different types of songs. So if you've got a favourite song, if you'd like to put it in the chat and then say why you like it as well, that'd be really fantastic. So again, I'll just wait for a couple more people to join in. Oh, hello. Let's see, we've got someone else joined us now as well, so that's brilliant. I'll just give it another couple of minutes just to start off. But yeah, like I said, if you could be thinking about, if you want to say hello in the chat again, that'd be great. So we can have a bit of a chat as we're going along. But yeah, if you could be thinking about favourite songs, favourite different types of music, and what feelings it creates inside you, and why you like those songs in particular. So I'll give it a couple more minutes. Yeah, like I say, if you want to just say hello, or if you're having a nice day, then that'd be great. It was quite sunny early, but it's got a bit more cloudy here, so don't know what the weather's like near you, but certainly made me feel better when it was a nice sunny day. I could sit out in the garden and read my book, which is always nice. Just a little sneak peek for the couple of you that are here already. Later, because we're going to be talking about songs and feelings and stuff, I thought we could do a little bit on poetry, which I know not everyone's that into poetry, but I think it's a really great way to think about ways of leveling up your English, taking it to the really next level, which I think is so important in when thinking about using English in everyday life. I think it's so important to really take it to that next level and think about just the best way you can describe things to really be able to think in English and think taking things to the next level. So like I said, I'll just give it another couple of minutes, maybe wait till 5 past, and then I'll start the lesson properly. Just wait to see if a couple more people come and join us. Smashing, yeah. Oh, I don't know if we've got another viewer there. Hello, again, my name's Tom. Just trying to think about songs, feelings and stuff, and if you've got a favourite band, or if you just want to put in your name or whatever, say hello in the chat, then that'd be great. So we can have a bit of discussion throughout the lesson. But I mean, if not, obviously, then that's up to you. No problem at all, either way. Like I say, just going to wait another couple of minutes just to see. Wait till 5 past before we start the lesson properly. Also, if the birds are really loud in the background, then you could say that as well. I'm not sure because I've got the window open just next to the laptop, and birds seem quite loud today. So, but thinking of feelings and describing emotions and stuff, like we're going to be going on to later. Certainly, one thing that makes me feel really happy, jolly, excited, ecstatic, cheerful, upbeat is the sound of birds tweeting. So that's don't know if you can hear that and if it's off-putting, but certainly that's one thing that makes me happy, especially this time of year. Another kind of topic we'll be talking about is springtime. Like I say, going to be doing a little bit about poetry later, so just see if it piques your interest, and as well, if you want to show off to your friends as well about your English, then that might be a really good way to do that. You can always recite some poetry to them. Anyway, so it's 5 past now. There's only 3 of us in, but get started anyway. Just if anyone joins, then we can just play. I'll do going along. Like I say, if you want to put in the chat any comments, thoughts, contributions. I'm going to be asking a few questions as we go along as well. So that'll be fantastic. So to start off with, like I say, as the lesson sort of progresses, goes on, I'm going to be talking about feelings and emotions and maybe a bit of poetry and a bit later as well. But to start off, I thought, what's quite similar to poetry. A lot of people say that, music and poetry are very linked, and writing song lyrics and, a lot of people might look to song lyrics for, ways to level up their English. Certainly, I think it'd be a really good tool if you've got some favourite songs in English that you really love and they make you feel a certain sort of feeling. Then it might be a really great thing to do to look up the song lyrics online. I know there's all sorts of different tools you can use, Google or whatever, and see what the lyrics are and see if the song lyrics go together with what you might be feeling when you listen to the song emotionally. Because I know, when you look at a lot of songs, actually the lyrics themselves aren't necessarily that related to the way they make you feel. Anyway, so emotions. So I thought what I'd do, similar to the theme of last week. Actually, before I start last week what I talked about was describing clothes and people, and particularly the way people look. So I'm just going to rattle off a few adjectives, describing words to describe clothes, and just have a brief go back over them to start off with the next lesson. Okay, so professional, that's particularly smart, looking very sharp, something you would wear to work. Casual, the opposite of that, tracksuit bottoms, whatever. Smart, again, looking pretty dressed up, shirt, tie, whatever. You might also have some favourite trousers, and also smart can be used to describe a person. Trendy, scruffy, unfashionable, elegant. Anyway, all of these adjectives are words that can really take up your English, and that's, again, the theme of today's lesson. So emotions, similarly describing emotions, how you're feeling, and just really taking your English up to the next level. So some common emotions that you might well be aware of already. Happy, so that's a smiley face. That's what you feel when something is nice, something's good, something's positive. But I'm sure you already know that one. Sad, it's the opposite of that, so that's a sad face. That's negative, unhappy. When something goes wrong, something bad happens. Okay, angry. Oh, you feel really grumpy, frustrated, something that stressful, induces anxiety. That's another one. Sick. Oh, you're feeling not very well. You maybe got a sore stomach ache, or a headache, or anything along those lines. Sick would be what you'd say to describe that feeling. Afraid. Ooh, if something's scary, that's when you'd say afraid. So you could say you could be afraid of the dark. You could be afraid of spiders. You could be afraid of any number of things. So that's afraid. Tired. So that is when you need to feel like you need to go to bed, feel like you're ready to go to sleep. You should say tired. Okay. Confused, thinking, maybe that'll be what you do when I'm doing a little bit of our poetry later. That might be what you're feeling, because a lot of people say that poetry can be quite confusing. But again, I think it'll be an interesting, exciting little thing to do to think about, different feelings and emotions in a bit more depth. Confused. Hurt. So now the little picture I've got next to that is someone with a bandage around his head, and you could definitely use it in that context. So you could do hurt emotionally. So if someone said something that's nasty or unkind and has hurt your feelings, you can say hurt. But you might also say hurt in a more physical way. So if, again, you've banged your head on something or something, you can say you hurt in that respect. And surprised. Oh, something happened that you're not expecting. Oh, so we've got a new viewer has just joined us. If you were on before, don't worry about it. But if you're a new viewer, hi, I'm Tom. Do say hello in the chat. Be great if we could get a bit of interaction going on today. Just going through some emotions and feelings at the moment. Or specifically, now what we're going to be moving on to is the fact that for all of those emotions that I just described before, there's so many different words you can use to describe them that are really going to take your English up to the next level, like I say, and make you sound much more like a native speaker. So if you're in work and someone says, "How are you today?" instead of just going and saying happy, sad, angry, I'm going to give you some more adjectives. But again, like I was saying before, I'd kind of skipped over this point briefly because I got so carried away with myself. But I was thinking about, oh, hi Gabrielle, hello, hope you're well. So you've put a smiley face in there, that's going to be perfect. So because we're talking about, like I say, feelings, emotions, and all the different words you can use instead of just the standard ones, happy, sad, angry, to take your English up really to the next level. So I'll get back to that now. But what we were just going to do, if you'd like to put in the chat, Gabrielle, if you've got any favourite songs or bands or music groups that you really enjoy, really like listening to, then it'd be absolutely fantastic if you could just put those in there and say maybe what emotions they make you feel. I've got a few examples here. So happy, okay, one group that make me feel happy. Wham, George Michael, Andrew Ridgeley, they've got some really happy, upbeat songs that are really fun to listen to. So that's a really one I'd recommend if you've not heard it. They're from like the 1980s. All bright colours, just really great fun. Happy, jolly, joyous, cheerful, blissful. Okay, there's some of the adjectives you've got to look forward to. Now, on the other side of the spectrum is a record from a genre called the blues. Now, if you don't know the word, then if you're feeling blue, then that's something people often say if they're feeling sad. Okay, so this is a blues record, and this is all about being sad. This is, first song on this one's called "Nobody Loves Me But My Mother." Okay, so it's really someone who's feeling sad, who's feeling dejective, morose, depressed, gloomy, somber. Okay, I'm going to go over a few more of those adjectives again later. Angry. Now, something that might make some people feel a bit angry. It's quite intense. Bit of rock and roll. Got Led Zeppelin. So that's really quite hardcore. And I think angry. What are the enraged, furious, upset? It's the type of music that you might listen to if you feel really, feeling any of those emotions really, and just another one, maybe for happy, got Beatles as well. So they're just, nice, jolly, all sorts of really great song lyrics in these songs that would be really great to upgrade your just English to the next level. So if you can listen to the songs, find one that makes you feel in a certain sort of emotion, and then you can maybe look at the song lyrics and see what they have to say. Okie doke. So going on from there, like I say, I'm just going to go back and touch on those adjectives from before, some of the ones I was using to describe the different types of music. So what? Happy. Okie doke. So I've got just a small list of adjectives here. I don't know on live if you can rewind and listen to me again, or if I'm talking too quickly, going through them too quickly, then feel free to just, like listening to Bob Marley. Oh, NWA, great, aren't they? Yeah, that's maybe an angry type of music. They're not Bob Marley, a lot more relaxed. Drake, you've got a really great range of emotion there. That's really perfect. That's exactly the type of thing I was thinking of. So from there, like I said, I'm going to use some adjectives, but I thought what I could do, if any of you put in some of your favourite bands, we can maybe have a look at some of the song lyrics and see how they're describing emotions, and see if there's any little tips and tricks, because later on, like I say, I'm going to be talking a little about poetry, and because the way that what they're really great at is describing things and talking about things in a really unique way that is just really top level. So instead of just saying, oh, that's nice, that's fun, happy, you've got really great. So like I say, what adjectives? So happy, the words I've got here, okay, are joyful, ecstatic, cheerful, upbeat, delighted, thrilled, content, jubilant, elated, glad, blissful, pleased, amused, jovial, overjoyed, gleeful, exultant. So, I mean, just from the word happy, just the huge range of words that you can use to describe it. Each one have got their own little sort of special meaning. So, for example, ecstatic, that's just so happy you can't even, comprehend it. Each of these words has got their own slight little meaning, and if you can integrate these into your sentences, then you're just going to be able to think more clearly in English, and people are just going to be able to understand you a lot more clearly. Okie doke. So for the other side of that, sad, okay, we've got unhappy, the opposite of happy obviously, morose, depressed, gloomy, sombre, glum, bitter, dismal, doleful, dejected, wistful, blue, mournful, despondent, down, miserable, pitiful, and pathetic. So there, again, all so many words that you can use for the word sad. Now, what I'm trying to prove with these different adjectives, different words to describe feelings in just better depth, is not necessarily so you can remember absolutely every single one of them. I don't want you to, lay awake at night, tossing and turning, thinking about, oh my God, I can only think of 3 different words to describe happy. That's absolutely not what I'm thinking. What I would absolutely love you to do that would make me feel jubilant, ecstatic, would be just what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the tools that you can find these words for yourself. So there's this really great thing you can use called a thesaurus, okay? And I'm sure you can find them online if you just Google thesaurus or whatever. Then you can put in a word, a bog standard word, like happy, sad, a feeling, or, nice, good. All these words that you might use all the time. What I'm going to do is challenge you in your day-to-day life. Try and use those words as little as possible, and that's going to have twofold advantages. Okay, it's going to make you think more about English. Okay, so instead of just taking the easy option, obviously that's fine a lot of the time, but sometimes if you're feeling like you really want to challenge yourself, then you might think, how could I say this differently? And again, it's going to make you feel like you can think in English a lot more. You can, all those complex thoughts you might have in your language from home, if you can use all these, more advanced words, then it's going to make you get more into the mindset of English speaking, and it's going to make it, when you've got to do it without even thinking, it's just going to make it that much easier. Anyway, so there's all sorts of other words, all sorts of other adjectives to go with those other emotions that I've described, that I went over earlier. But, okie doke, so you've said you like Bob Marley. Why don't we find some Bob Marley lyrics and see some of the things that he does to convey how he is feeling. Okay, Bob Marley lyrics. One Love. Okie doke. So, again, yeah, give thanks. Let's feel alright. Let's get together. Bob Marley lyrics. Let's look some more. One Love. There's not that many words. Okie doke. Tell you what song actually I'm going to do. Said you liked NWA. Now I'm not sure that some of the lyrics are maybe that friendly for important to be aware of them, but Express Yourself. Okay, that's a really great song because it's talking all about I couldn't even thought of it that better myself. It's talking all about how important it is to stay true to yourself and express who you are, express your own thoughts, and stay positive. Okay, so drop. What's he got? Because some don't agree with how I do this. I get straight, meditate like a Buddhist. Okay, so that's saying what that is using. Actually, that I was actually going to come on to later to talk because it's a really great tool for talking about feelings, describing things. It uses this idea of metaphors and similes. So he's not saying I get straight, meditate like a Buddhist. He's not saying necessarily that he is a Buddhist. Okay, and that's what's so important to bear in mind when it comes to metaphors. He's not saying that he actually is what he is in that. So he's not comparing himself necessarily to a Buddhist, but he's saying that famous trait of Buddhists, meditate like a Buddhist. He's saying, I'm relaxed. I'm not going to let things get on top of me. I'm gonna stay calm. Not receiving to maintain smooth streaming. Experience buffering. If it's not working properly, just give me a thumbs up or whatever, because I've just got a notification from YouTube. Anyway, so if you can still hear me, meditate like a Buddhist, like I say. So with a simile, metaphor and simile, that's what I was going to be talking about later. So a metaphor is a word or a phrase used to describe something as if it was something else. Okay, so the example from this song, meditate like a Buddhist, actually that's a simile because he uses the word like, but it's when you compare something to something else. So other examples might be couch potato. Now, if you're calling someone a couch potato, you're not actually calling them a potato, but it's a metaphor for someone that's lazy. Okay. Predict other example. This example, my teacher is a dragon. So a dragon is someone that maybe gets quite angry, has got a temper, and it makes you think of the fire-breathing element. So that's something that a lot of songs, a lot of poems use to conjure specific images. Okay, so instead of just saying, my teacher gets angry, or sorry about that. Just go on mute. Do not disturb. There we are. So, yeah, you're not receiving enough data. My Wi-Fi is not necessarily the best at the moment. Oh, excellent. Perfect. Back to normal. Rightio. So, straight meditate like a Buddhist. See if I can find some more. Okie doke in this song. There's a good line in this about a tortoise, I think. See if I can find it. This is an absolute perfect one to describe this idea of simile. So it's when you compare something to something else to just really demonstrate, conjure an image, sum it up perfectly. So the lyric itself is, it says, you ain't efficient when you flow, you ain't swift, moving like a tortoise, full of rigor mortis. So what that's saying, you ain't efficient when you flow. So that means when you're rapping, you know, your lyrics don't they're not smooth. They don't have a nice flow. So what he did to compare that, he's saying it doesn't flow, it's slow. What else is slow? It's like a tortoise, okay, because that's something that moves notoriously quickly. You might also say like a sloth or like a snail, for example, but in this particular example, he compared it to a tortoise. So he's not saying that he looks like a tortoise because he's green and shriveled and has got a shell. He's saying that because his rapping isn't very good compared to his, he's saying he's like a tortoise. So that's a really perfect example of that. Well, another example of simile, the knowledge is growing just like a fetus. So that's something that's a fetus is a baby when it's before it's been born. So that obviously is something that grows. You could say growing like a flower or something as well, growing like a tree. But all that is just absolutely chock full, jam-packed with all of these really great similes and metaphors. So what I'm going to do, what I've got is just check my notes again. So I've got some different metaphors and similes. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to read them out to you. Can I give you a bit of a pause, just 10 seconds or something, to think what it might be meaning when it's saying. Okay, so what I've got, what's one? You are my sunshine. Now, what do you think that might mean? That's one from a song, I think. But yeah, so if someone said you are my sunshine, what do you think that might mean? Okay. So what it actually means, you are my sunshine. Sunshine is something that often feels, it's an image that's associated with happiness, being jolly, elated, full of positivity. So if you call someone your sunshine, then you say, you're someone that makes me really happy. So that's a really nice one. You say, you're, instead of saying you're a nice person, you could say you are my sunshine. That's a really nice one. What's it? Let's find another good one. You could say my bedroom is a bomb site or a disaster area. What do you think that one might mean? Okay, so I hope you've had enough chance to just think about it. A bomb site or a disaster area. So that's something, a bomb site is obviously the site where a bomb's dropped. Okay, so it's not, if you're saying someone's bedroom is a bomb site, you're not saying that a bomb's landed there. What you're saying is that it's a complete mess, something, when I was younger, if I had an untidy bedroom, it said, oh, it looks like we've been burgled, and it not necessarily, obviously we haven't been burgled, but because there's things strewn about all over the place, an absolute mess, someone might compare it to having been burgled. Another one, your brain is a computer. Okay, what do you think that one might mean? I'll give you a few seconds just to think about that. Okay, so his brain is a computer. That would probably mean he's so intelligent, so smart that his brain is as powerful as a computer. He can get any information ready. He's not saying he's like a robot, he's made of metal or whatever, but he's saying your brain is like a computer. And one last one. Let's see if I can find a really good one, because I've got a big list. Finding a good one. Okay, so if this goes back to the feeling of scared earlier, and I'll get a few more metaphors, get a few more adjectives even. I do apologise for the word scared. So, afraid, scared, fearful, shaken, frightened, anxious, terrified, petrified, startled, aghast, panicked, horrified, jittery, spineless, tremulous, intimidated, uneasy, skittish, alarmed, spooked. Okay, and a simile you could use instead of any of those words. You could say, she is a chicken. Okay, again, you're not calling her a chicken saying that she's got feathers and wings and, is yay tall and lays eggs. But if you call someone a chicken, that means that, they're scared of a lot of things. I've been known to be a bit of a chicken before. I don't really like horror movies, and if I was saying to my girlfriend, oh, I'm not sure I want to watch this horror movie, she'd go, oh, you're a right chicken. Again, she's not calling me a chicken because I lay eggs or I've got feathers. She's saying that I'm scared of a lot of things. So that's something to be careful of. Okay, when you're listening to metaphors, similes, listening to songs, a lot of the time, if they're saying stuff like, moving like a tortoise, what's another one from that NWA song? If there's anyone, I'm not sure, but definitely a good one to listen to. Express Yourself. It's a very good song. Some suckers just tickle me pink. That's another good one, because he's not saying they're actually tickling him or making him turn pink. It means that they make him laugh. Okay, so it's just something to be really to watch out for, keep an eye out for, is this idea of metaphors and similes. So again, I'll just go briefly over again what those mean. So a metaphor is a word or a phrase used to describe something as if it was something else. Okay, so you could say, I'm a chicken. That's a metaphor, because I'm not actually a chicken, but it's associating the characteristics of me with a chicken. Okay, and a simile is something that's slightly different, because it compares it to something else using like or as. Okay, they're the words you want to listen out for. So you could say, he is like a tortoise, moving like a tortoise. That's a simile. Okay, it's quite a subtle difference. Not necessarily that important right at the moment, but it's just something to be aware of for both if you're hearing someone talk, because in English in particular, use a lot of metaphors and similes, and you might be getting lost in the conversation and confused and thinking, what does he mean I'm a chicken? I'm not a chicken. But there's a whole wealth of different metaphors and similes that people use to talk about something else in a slightly more interesting way. And like I'm going to go on to later, it's something that you can really use effectively if you're talking to someone, or just even if you're thinking about doing some writing. You can really level up your English, and that's what I'm trying to make these sessions all about. I'll just go on a brief sort of tangent. I'm not sure if it's just how many of us are in the room at the moment. Might just be the one. But anyway, if it's just Gabrielle or whoever, feel free to just put in the chat if there's any ideas you've got for more lessons, or what you'd like next week, if there's something in particular that you think would be a really great idea. Because what I'm trying to do with these sessions, trying to make it so anyone of sort of any level could come in and learn something new, learn a new word, learn a new technique, and just not necessarily stuff that might be something you'd use and it's just giving you the words for a job interview or something. What I'm really trying to do is, so when you've got your English, it's just stuff that you can maybe use to add to it, to just take it to that next level. So just make you so you're more natural speaking, so you can understand more, so you just get to that from wherever you are, just get to that next level. So if anyone's got any feedback about that, if you're watching it retrospectively, retrospectively means after it's live, basically. And I'd love you to just type a comment before next week if you've got any suggestions or thoughts or feedback. Put them in the comment section or in the chat now or whatever, and I will do my absolute best to make these sessions into whatever you want them to be. I'd really love to know what you think, and if you think it's a good idea. What I'm trying to do at the moment is just taking whatever your level of English is now and making it next level, as it were. So, on the basis of this thought of trying to take your English to the next level, like I say, I'm going to talk briefly about something I personally really enjoy, quite linked to songs, lyrics, and that's poetry. Now, you might be thinking, I don't know if you know any poems or if you did about it in school in your own language or whatever, but a lot of people, certainly here in England when I was at school, think poetry is absolute nonsense. I'm never going to need it. It's irrelevant. It's just things that don't matter. But what I think is really important about it is that it tries to do things differently and explain common things, but just in a more advanced way. Okay, and that's really what I'm trying to, like I say, get from these sessions is whatever your level of English is, just little tips, tricks and sort of challenges that you can use in your everyday, day-to-day life, and you can just take them to the next level. So what I thought I'd do, I was thinking about, what poem could I maybe use that will have a lot of different ideas and different things about English that will really be useful for you guys in your day-to-day life. Okay, so the poem that I chose was a really famous poem by a chap called William Wordsworth, entitled "I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud." So what I'm going to do first, I'm just going to go verse by verse and really try and dissect it, talk about the ideas that are in it, in a way that will be useful for you in your everyday lives, and then see how much time we get, and then can always go through, and hopefully we'll end up going through the entire poem. So this poem in particular, I chose it because, as you know, at the start of May, 7th of May, today, it talks about springtime, and we're coming, to the latter half of, coming to the end of spring, and if that's what it's really talking about is the springtime. Okay, so the first verse goes like this. Oh, I've got a link actually. I'll put it in the chat, and if you want to go and have a look at the poem as well, sorry, at the same time, then that'd be really beneficial, and you can go through it with me. Okay, so the first verse goes like this. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Okay, I'll go through that one more time, just maybe a bit slower this time. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Okay, so just in those 6 lines. Okay, actually I can post those into chat actually, can't I? Just in those 6 lines. Oh no, that's too many words, never mind. Those 6 lines. Okie doke. So there, just in 6 lines, it's got so much information, metaphors, similes, full of emotion. Okay, and there's some tricks that you can really use in a way that's going to really take your English up to the next level. Okay, so let's just digest it, sort of go through it line by line and see what advice it might have for you in your everyday lives. Okay, so first line, I wandered lonely as a cloud. Now, this line in particular gets a lot of criticism because people say that clouds aren't lonely necessarily, but I think it's just him. He looked up one day and he thought, it's just a cloud floating along. And again, just to go back to this idea of metaphors and similes, he's not actually saying, he's like a cloud. He's saying he looked up and thought, yeah, I can kind of relate to that. Now, I think what the key to this line is the word wandered. And again, this is just another example of just the wide range of different words that you've got at your disposal in English. There's so many words, because if you just said, I walked lonely as a cloud, which means the same thing, wandered is just walking slowly, or sort of you might be absorbed in your thoughts. You're not walking with purpose. You're kind of just strolling. But that's just an example of how much meaning can be conveyed in all these wide variety of words. Like I said just at the start of the lesson, thinking about emotions and the stuff you get in different songs. It is all right just to say happy or sad. But along the theme of these lessons, where I'm really trying to get you to challenge yourself to take your English to the next level, it's really a great skill to be able to just have a few different, you don't have to always necessarily recognise how many different words I gave you before. I think for happy there was, 10 or so, but even if you've just got 3 or 4 that you can use, happy, joyful, jolly, merry, whatever, if you've got a few different words, the most common words you find, you might say, nice, good. If you've got just a few different examples, then that'll really take your English up to the next level. So, I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills. So, vales and hills are just, obviously, hills. It's like in the countryside, it goes up and down, and then it's floating on that lonely. But again, I think with the previous sentence in mind, thinking about spring, thinking about nature, it's really just so effective in packing full of meaning, because you can just imagine him wandering along and then looking up at the clouds and thinking about the clouds looking down on the countryside. I think it's packed full of meaning. Now here again, the next couple of lines. When all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. So I think this is a good example of technique used where it was kind of a surprise. I saw a crowd. You might be thinking of people. You can imagine a crowd of people, moving together. I think again, it's just another example of this power of all the different words you've got to play with, because a crowd he could have used a group, something more traditionally talking about flowers. You might be I just saw some daffodils. But no, in his choice of words, every word has extra meaning and is just full of context. So crowd, that's another. Beside the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So again, you might not often think to talk about flowers dancing, but it's something that's really great, to talk about things doing, in a way that that you wouldn't necessarily think. So I'll read out the next paragraph to you now. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. So again, using all sorts of techniques here. Exaggeration, 10,000 I saw at a glance. Was he necessarily looking at 10,000 flowers? I don't necessarily think so. Tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Sprightly is a brilliant one, just to show, again, there's so many different ways of talking about things. And I hope, obviously depending on your level of English, that this you're understanding, most or all of the words here, and you can kind of get a sense for what I'm saying, in that all the words kind of have a different meaning. And if he'd made other choices, if he'd just gone for the most obvious word, when all at once I saw a bunch of daffodils, for example, or blowing in the, if you use the more uncommon words, then it's really going to give you an ability to convey how you're feeling in just a more developed way that people are going to be able to think about it in more depth. And that was the case, what I was trying to demonstrate earlier with the words for feelings and emotions, happy, sad, whatever, but delighted, glum, terrified, for happy, sad, and scared, all together. So that's. I'll not necessarily go over the rest of the poem. I think it'd be a really good thing for you to go over it in your own time. And like I say, if you're watching this not on the stream, if you're watching it now, then just put a thumbs up in the chat if you want me to carry on, or do. I've got a little final sort of task challenge for the coming week that I'd really love for you to do. Talking again about thinking about emotions and describing things in just a next level way. Hopefully you can use some of the words we've learned over the past couple of weeks, or in the lessons previously, or any of your English, and it's really challenged you to develop your English, okay, and try and apply it in different and sort of unique ways that you might not necessarily just think to in your everyday life. So what I would love for you to do is try and write a haiku. What a haiku is a really short type of poetry from Japan. And what's special about those types of poems is that they have the same structure every time, in that it's 3 lines. Okay, the first line has 5 syllables, the second line has 7 syllables, and the third line has 5 syllables again. Now that, I'll just briefly go over what a syllable is. Okay, so a syllable is sort of the amount of sounds in a word. Okay, so for example, I'll go back to the poem. So I is 1 syllable. On, high, and, saw, I, all, once. I hope you can hear what I mean, in the sense that there's 1 syllable and that it's only 1 sound, really. You're only opening your mouth. One thing I was taught when I was at school to recognise a syllable is if you put your hand beneath your chin, then your mouth opens and your chin moves down in the number of syllables. So for example, like going back, I, high, veils, hills, and saw. It's all one sound. Now, the examples from this first paragraph: wandered, over, golden, beside, beneath, dancing. Hope you can hear that each of those words have got sort of two sounds in them. Okay, and then an example of a three. Daffodils. There we go. That's a good example. Daffodils. Daffodils. So that's 3 syllables, 3 sounds. So when you're writing this haiku, as I really do hope you do over the week, I'll try to write a few myself, and then next week I'll come back with them at the start of the lesson. If any of you are watching this in the week, then please do come join us same time next week in the lesson, and we can, if you feel happy, then go over them. So what you've got to do is, like I say, I've been trying to think about feelings and emotions and the theme of spring, the season. So things that you might be thinking of at the moment to do with spring: flowers, sunshine, lambs, as in baby sheep. That's something that you see a lot of here in the countryside in the springtime. But just on the topic of spring and the emotions that it makes you feel, write a short haiku using that 5-7-5 structure, and try and not use any of the bog standard words that you might think of. So the sun is nice, or it makes me happy. Okay, I'd love for you to do is to think of not only these different, more adventurous words, and for that you can use, like I said, the thesaurus. So if you go online and type in thesaurus and put in the word that you might be thinking of, so again, happy, and it'll come up with all sorts of different words that you can use. It doesn't have to rhyme, but it just has to have your feelings in it. Okay, and that's what's so important about it, because when you're taking your English to the next level, like I'm really trying to challenge you to do, then it's all about this idea of being able to speak it naturally and just be able to think in this second language that you've all worked so hard to develop. So, for example, just thinking on the spot, I deliberately didn't write one in advance to just show that it doesn't take long to think of. You can just have a sit and ponder and think of a poem about springtime using the 5-7-5 haiku structure. Okay, so I think I might use daffodils as well, like are so important in the poem. So what have we got? Some of these words. So happy. Okay, so I'll just go again because I think springtime often creates feelings of happiness. So I'll go over the adjectives again: joyful, ecstatic, cheerful, upbeat, delighted, content, thrilled, jubilant, elated, glad, blissful, pleased, amused, jovial, overjoyed, gleeful, and exultant. Gleeful, sorry. So you could say, 5 syllables. So you could say the sun shone. The sun shone on me. Already that's packed with feelings. You've got the sun shone down on me. That's creating, a sense of warmth, of just happiness without even saying the word happiness or any of the happiness words. So the sun shone down on me. That's 5 syllables. The sun shone down on me. And I was thrilled to see it I was thrilled to see it. Again, talking about the sun. The sun shone down on me, and I was thrilled to see it. Thrilled. Again, another word to talk about happiness, but you could use any of the words with one syllable. I was glad to see it. I was, whatever, one syllable word. So the sun shone down on me. I was thrilled to see it. As it smiled at me. Okay, again, it's using this idea, like in the poem before, of giving it a characteristic that it wouldn't necessarily have. So the sun obviously can't smile, but it's this idea that, giving it a characteristic just for the sense of feeling, and so that's all you need to do, really. It's just as simple as that. If you only do one thing this week, thinking about developing your English, I'd absolutely love to just think about the spring, think about the feelings that it makes you feel inside, and then try and use a new word and maybe a new simile or metaphor, and try and put it in a little haiku poem like that. So again, 5, 7, 5 syllables. So I can't remember my poem. I should have written it down, perhaps. The sun looked out. The sun. Anyway, so that's my challenge to you for next week. Again, if you're watching this during the week, then I would love for you to put a comment in. I will have a look at the comments before with maybe suggestions, or if you thought the lesson was good and you'd like me to do something more similar or something completely different, I would love to hear back from you. But these are for you, to help you learn, to help challenge your English. But like I say, it would be absolutely fantastic over the course of the week if you come and tune in next week at 5 o'clock on Thursday. Then I'll be here, and I would love to hear one of your poems. So I hope this has been helpful for you this week. I hope you've learned something new. I hope, if nothing else, you've learned just one new word, or at least a new, you've got this knowledge of what a thesaurus is, and you've got a desire, to not to think beyond the normal words that you might use, and just realise the whole wide range of words that are out there that are available for you to use. So it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I say, I'll be back this time next week. Do come back, and I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Thank you very much indeed. Bye.